Right, well, it's 3:30 British time, so I think we'll get started. I'm Junaid. I'm the Director of Education at Whizz Education. Prior to that, I was a mathematician. I've tutored maths for over 15 years to students of all ages and abilities. So I'm really excited to share some of the lessons that I picked up along the way with you and to really help you get the most out of Maths-Whizz for your child. And I'm joined today by Hannah Chisholm. So Hannah heads up our global support team. Hannah's having a few audio issues, but she is available on the chat. So please make use of the chat function. I can see that many of you are introducing yourselves already. Please make yourselves known and raise any questions or comments, and we'll try our best to work through them as we go. I'll be speaking for around 20 minutes or so, certainly no more than that. And so we will have some time at the end to maybe dig into some of those specific questions. Now, let me say, even just before we get started, that I really appreciate the fact that you're all here. As a parent myself, I know how much strain we're under at the moment, and I know just how many uncertainties we're faced with. And so the fact that you've taken 30 minutes out of your busy schedules to attend this webinar and to learn about how you can better support your child in maths, I think is just incredible. And I just wanted to start by saying that. Now, the fact that you're on Maths-Whizz already gives you a huge advantage, because you have at your disposal an incredible opportunity to really advance your child's learning in maths, to really help them build that knowledge and confidence. And so let's talk about the long-term aim of Maths-Whizz for your child, and perhaps it looks something like this. I'm going to show you the learning profile of one of our students. So you'll probably recognize this. This is a topic profile. And so you can see the different topics there along the side. And I should say that this is a real profile of a real student. We have permission to share this. And so you can see, if you just focus on the gray bars up to the red mark, that shows you where this child was placed in their initial assessment on Maths-Whizz. And so you can see their maths age across those different topics. And just looking at those grey bars, you can see they have different strengths and different weaknesses. Really varied learning needs across those topics. And no doubt your child has their own unique learning profile. And so what Maths-Whizz then does is, well, it behaves very much like a private tutor. So as a private tutor myself, I would sit down with a child, I would figure out where their strong and weak areas are, and I will develop a learning plan that addresses their specific knowledge gaps and focuses on their weaker areas. And that's exactly what Maths-Whizz is designed to do. It does all of that automatically. And so the most important part here is actually the blue bars, because if you look at the blue bars, they show you how much this child has improved in each of those topics after using Maths-Whizz for a sustained period of time. So look at those blue bars. You can see that now they don't have any particularly weak topics, that their maths age is much more consistent across the board. And that's a really strong foundation for them to learn and develop in maths. And I want to assure you that the most important thing here is really just consistency. You don't need to be a maths expert or a maths educator to realize those benefits for your child. And so today we're just going to talk through 3 very simple steps that you can take as a parent that will really set your child up for long-term success. So here they are. We'll start by talking about the importance of planning and really building Maths-Whizz into your schedule each week. We'll talk about the importance of having an hour a week and setting weekly targets. And then for me, the most important part always is that middle piece, making it stick. Really thinking about Maths-Whizz as a long-term commitment to your child's learning, building it into your routines. And we're going to talk about some of the things you can do to perhaps help your child through those moments where, occasionally their motivation may drop slightly. And then we'll also talk about how, as a parent, you can stay informed, because, we've built an entire parent dashboard that helps you really easily monitor your child's progress. And we'll actually go into the parent dashboard a little later. Now, if you follow those 3 steps, then the learning gains will follow. We've been going now for over 15 years, and time again, our data and our research shows that if your child spends an hour a week on Maths-Whizz, that's 1 hour of focused, productive time on Maths-Whizz, then over the course of the first year, you can expect that their learning will move forward by around 18 months for just an hour a week. So that's, a really impressive acceleration. And I would say, there's never been a more important time to invest in virtual tutoring. I feel like, as parents, we're really at the crossroads at the moment when it comes to our children's education. And we have to decide just how proactive we want to be with their learning. And really, our children's learning will go in one of two directions, because there's actually a lot of research out there, and we've done much of this ourselves, that shows that when students spend, a few weeks at a time, not really engaged with their learning, perhaps switched off, then actually they lose 2 to 3 months of learning during that time. So we've done our own research on the extended summer break, and what we found is that when students switch off over the summer, then they can lose about 2 or 3 months worth of knowledge in that time, and that's a lot to claw back. If you compare that to the students that are engaged in a structured program like Maths-Whizz, well, their learning goes off in the opposite direction. They continue to move onwards and upwards. And so even just over those few weeks, the difference is quite dramatic. Now, of course, it's not the summer holiday yet, but we're facing so much disruption. Schools are closed. There's no real knowing when things will get back to normal. And these really are the two choices that face parents. How proactive do we want to be? And the fact that you're on Maths-Whizz and that you've taken the time to attend this webinar, I mean, you've already made that choice. You've made the right choice for your child. And so let's now focus on how we can make sure that you really get the most out of Maths-Whizz and move your child's learning forward. So we're going to get into those 3 steps. We'll start with the planning. Now, you've probably had some exposure to Maths-Whizz already, and you'll know that when your child logs in, they can explore different worlds, and I've just brought up the space theme here because that's my favorite. And one of the first things Maths-Whizz will do is it will encourage your child to work towards a weekly goal. And so the weekly goal that Maths-Whizz sets for your child, and it's really just a minimum, is to earn 3 progressions. Now, a progression is really just a fancy name for a unit of learning. It's a learning objective. So, equivalent fractions might be a learning objective, or angles in a triangle, or maybe something to do with currency. These are all different learning objectives, and your child makes a progression when they successfully complete a learning objective. So that means passing an exercise and a test. And if they make 3 progressions, well, that's a good amount of learning. So that's a good target to aim for each week. And if they do that on Maths-Whizz, then Maths-Whizz will reward them for with a gem, and your child will really get excited by that. And I'll say more about gems in a moment, but that's really the basic target. And all of our research shows that if your child spends an hour a week on Maths-Whizz, then they should make those 3 progressions. In fact, they can make 4 or 5 progressions, and why not? That's when the accelerated learning really starts to then kick in. So what we've done to help you along the way here is we created a weekly planner, and you can download this if you're able to, print it off. And I would encourage you to have your child fill this out. It's where they can really schedule Maths-Whizz in for themselves during the week, maybe depending on when the computer's available and whatever else. And what we actually advise is that if you can, break that learning into smaller chunks, maybe 3 20-minute sessions, because then you start to really build a habit out of their learning. And just by getting your child to fill it in, I can tell you from experience, that will just strengthen their commitment to that goal. It will make them more likely to pursue it. My sister, actually, who uses Maths-Whizz with her daughter, my niece, she does this, and they actually put the planner up on their fridge, which means that my niece, Mariam, all of her siblings can see what she's set out to achieve that week. And just the fact that she's made that goal public within the household means that she's just a lot more motivated to achieve it. So really make use of that weekly planner. And we're going to share that with you in an email shortly after the webinar. It's available on our resource hub online. So do watch out for that email, because we will be in touch. Now, when your child first starts on Maths-Whizz, you've probably seen this already. They get through that assessment, they go into the tutor, and it's a very fun experience. We've designed Maths-Whizz to be as fun as possible, as well as being educationally very powerful. We really want children to fall in love with maths, and so the lessons are very animated and interactive. And your child's enthusiasm, you probably noticed this already, at the beginning it's boundless. But then, kids being what they are, you may find from time to time that that initial enthusiasm might just start to wane a little, and sometimes we see this maybe 3 to 6 weeks in. We call it the 3 to 6 week blues, and let me say that's really going to be your decisive moment, your most important moment as a parent, because if you can push your child through that lull and get them through to the other side, then it will do wonders for them in the long run. And so what we're really trying to promote here is that long-term mindset. It's okay to have, off weeks, but what we're trying to encourage is that even in a bad week, you're still managing to eke out 60 minutes to get onto Maths-Whizz and make those progressions. And so Maths-Whizz itself will reward your child for doing that. Talked before about the gems, and so you can get a gem each week. And the more gems you get, your child gets, the better their status becomes. So this status is important to them. It follows them around the student experience. Their friends and their peers will be able to see it. It'll be up on all the leaderboards. And what the gems really represent is how consistent your child is. And so if your child gets on a streak, which is 8 gems in a row, that's when they become a superstar. So a superstar on Maths-Whizz isn't about being, the brightest or the best or the quickest, but being the most consistent. And now here's the thing. If your child manages to do that, if they manage to meet their weekly goals 8 weeks in a row and they become a superstar, well, then they've got something to protect. Because if they drop off for even 1 week, I can promise you they're going to lose that status. They're going to have to claw it all back. So we're really trying to encourage them to really think of Maths-Whizz as just part of their weekly routines. And going back to the planner, it's something that they can really turn into a habit. Now, as I said, your child's enthusiasm may not be sky high every week, and there may be that period a few weeks in where maybe they need a bit of persuading. And what you really want to do there is remind them of what the long-term benefits are, the 18 months progress, really give them that vision for their learning. And hopefully through Maths-Whizz itself that they'll be motivated to become a superstar. One of the things I want to touch on briefly is one of the things that often puts students off, and this isn't specific to Maths-Whizz, this is with learning more generally and specifically with maths, when it gets hard. Learning can be hard, and maths can be difficult, and it should be. That's just the way it is. But it's important that your child is able to deal with that struggle. Now, on Maths-Whizz itself, the tutor is designed to pick up when your child is struggling, and then it will give them prompts and it will adapt as it needs to. But I would say there's also a role that you can play as a parent. You can really impress on your child that it's okay to struggle and to make mistakes from time to time. And we're really in this for the long run, so it's okay to trip up here and there. And we actually have a guide for you. I'm not going to go into all the details now. It's in the resource hub, which we'll link to at the end. And it really just talks you through how you can manage that struggle with your child one step at a time. So I'd really encourage you to look at that. And there's a really nice saying that I remember from my days as a mathematician. Every mathematician, I can tell you right now, every mathematician in the world is stuck on a problem. That's what it means to do mathematics. You're always stuck on a problem. And what really matters is how you become unstuck. And that's really as much about their mindset as much as it is about their math skills. So there is an important role for you to play as a parent, providing that moral support. But let's talk now about some of the other practical support that you can offer, because the third step is really about you staying informed on your child's progress. And that's what Maths-Whizz allows you to do. This parent dashboard is built so that you can very easily monitor how your child is getting on. So I'm actually just going to click on this, and this should take me to whizz.com, and I'm going to actually show you how you can log in and then some of the things that you can do through your parent dashboard. So, if you're on Maths-Whizz, you will have access to a parent dashboard, and you should absolutely make sure that you're making use of it, because it's really gold dust. So you go to whizz.com. This is just the homepage of Whizz, and then you'll notice this button on the top right, which is where you can log in. And I'll just wait for that to load up, and I'm just going to log in as a sample student. And there's really quite a lot to explore once you're in there. And I'm not going to show you, the full breadth and depth of everything. We'll just focus on 2 or 3 key things. So your username is just the email address that you used when you signed up to Maths-Whizz. So hopefully that's easy enough. Hopefully you remember your password, but if not, that's okay. Just hit forgotten password. We'll send you an automatic reminder. But I'll log in. And when I log in, it's going to take me into the reporting side, the reporting dashboard of of a student. So let's imagine for the moment that this is my child. It's not quite true because my child's not quite old enough for Maths-Whizz yet, but hopefully she'll get there. But this, what you'll see in a moment is exactly what you would see when you log in to your parent dashboard. So let's just give that a couple of seconds. Now, remember, we spoke earlier about the importance of setting those weekly goals, trying to get an hour of Maths-Whizz in each week, aiming for at least 3 progressions a week. And so this dashboard is going to basically tell us at a glance exactly how the student is getting on. So the first thing to notice, if you can now see this, is we have the reporting period over here, and it's set to the current week. So we're just over halfway into the week now. And my goodness, this student, this was my child, I'd be absolutely delighted because they're making 9 progressions. I should say again, by the way, we do have permission to share this, but 9 progressions, that's incredible. And if I really want to, I could go into each individual lesson that they've done and see how they've gone on, but that's something I'll let you explore. But 9 progressions, that's the thing to focus on. Well, they've gone above and beyond this week. That's a really good amount of progress. And if I just click on usage there, you can see they've actually only spent about an hour, just under an hour. So that is a really good use of their time, very productive, almost an hour as planned, and they've made 9 progressions. That's several weeks worth of learning. That's really, really good progress there. And if I just go to their maths age, you probably have questions around the maths age. It's important not to get too attached to it. It's just a very good kind of loose guide as to where your child is. So this child now has a maths age of 6.67, and that means they're working at the level of 6.5-year-old, just slightly ahead. And given that this child is just over 5 years old, that's actually pretty good going. And you can see that just in this week alone, they've improved their maths age by 0.08. Now that may not mean much, but actually it means about a month's progress. So that's good by any standard, right? A month's worth of learning in 4 days. But we're just looking at the current week, and there's no reason we can't look at any other reporting period. This is totally flexible. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit since last assessment, and it'll show me how much this child has improved since they were last assessed on Maths-Whizz. And now you can see that they were assessed all the way back in November. And look at that improvement now. It's more than a year. Now, how long has that been since November? We're talking about 5 months, right? Not even half a year. And in that time, they've improved their maths age by more than a year. So that's incredible. That's the accelerated learning that we were talking about. And it comes from that consistency. Now, we get a lot of feedback from parents, and we know that one of the things they appreciate the most is this topics tab, because this is what gives you a really detailed breakdown of your child's learning. Do you remember earlier when I showed you that the learning profile of that student, and we saw how they've got a much more rounded profile now? Well, you can kind of see the same thing is happening here, and you'll be able to see the exact same thing for your child. You can see where they started in each topic. The bars will show you how much they've improved. And this is a level of detail that you probably won't get anywhere else. I mean, I can hold my hands up and say as a private tutor, I never was able to provide this level of insight. And you'll find that if you share this with your, if your child goes to school and you share this with their teacher, they'll be amazed at the level of insight that you're able to give them on your child's learning, and they'll actually be very grateful for this. So I encourage you to do that. Now, there is so much more that I could show you, but I'm just going to show you a couple of things because they're really popular and really important. So the first is the messages. The kids absolutely love this. The reason this is in is because we keep hearing from the children on Maths-Whizz just how much they love getting these messages. So as a parent, here you are in your experience, and if you want to show some recognition to your child, you just go here, and you can see the different messages that you can send them, and you can also just send them a sticker. So I would say Rachel really has been fabulous this week, so I'll just say, well done, you are very consistent, keep it up, because that's what it's all about. We don't want them to just make progress in 1 or 2 weeks, but in the long term. So I'll pop that across, And what will happen now is, this is the really cool bit, when Rachel next logs in to her student experience, that she'll get a message notification with that message, and she'll have that sticker to add to her collection of virtual stickers. And that will put your child in a good mood for the rest of the week, trust me. So if you're new to the product, or if you ever have any questions, then the last thing I want to show you is that help is at hand, like literally there and then. So you see the support team icon on the top right. If you ever have any questions, or you just want to discuss your child's learning profile, whatever it is, or you're just trying to get somewhere in the product, click on this and then click on support. Because what will happen in just a second, our live chat feature will pop up. It's called Whizz Assist. And Hannah and her team are basically on the other end. So this isn't, it's not a robot, it's not an automatic assistant. This is actually a live human being on the other end. And they will be able to get on a chat with you and actually answer your questions there and then. Now, so this is the icon to look out for. It's just popped up there in the bottom left. And if you click on that, I won't do it now, then one of Hannah's team will be there ready to talk you through whatever questions you have. And if you just want to pop them an email at any point, I know that they'll be only too glad to assist. So that's really all I need to show you, I think, for you to really get going with Maths-Whizz. And let me say, once you become familiar with those basic things, there is loads more to explore, but even just those basic things, that will probably take you maybe 5 minutes, at most 10 minutes, to really stay on top of your child's learning. So what I advise the parents that I work with is, maybe just slot in 5-10 minutes on your Sunday evening, just go online very quickly, log into your parent dashboard, spend 5 or 10 minutes, make sure that your child's made the progressions, that they've spent that time that they've committed on Maths-Whizz, maybe look at their topic profile, see where they're having difficulty. As I said earlier, you may choose to share that with the school, but you can also take that back to your child yourself and just start a conversation with them. Where are they struggling? Where might they need more support? What are they enjoying? And I'll say again, you don't need to be a maths expert to do any of this. The dashboard and the whole of Maths-Whizz is set up to make it really easy for you. So that's it. I mean, they are the 3 simple steps, and it's just worth recapping. The first thing is all about planning. An hour a week makes a massive difference in the long run. So start scheduling it in, commit to those weekly targets. Make it stick, especially in that period where their motivation might drop a few weeks in, because once they get through that phase, then the learning gains will follow, and so will the confidence. And finally, really make use of that parent dashboard. It's been built for you. Please do make use of it, and it only takes a few minutes each week. I'm just going to address a few other questions that often come up. We're often asked about that initial assessment, and we're asked if it's okay to help your child. Well, you can certainly sit down with them, and if they need help, moving through the screens and reading the instructions, that's fine. But whatever you do, resist the temptation that every parent has to answer the question for them. It's okay for them to just click, don't know. That's fine, because what the tutor's trying to do is get an accurate reading of your child's learning needs. And so it's so important that they're able to just be honest as they go through that assessment. When the tutoring starts, it's entirely up to you if you want to sit down with your child or not. Now, you can. There's nothing wrong with that at all if they need that extra support. But again, don't give them the answers. Maths-Whizz will pick up when they're struggling, and it will respond. At the same time, you can just let them run with it. Maths-Whizz is set up to allow your child to learn independently. So it's really flexible, and it all depends on what's best for you and your child. And as I said, if you stick with it and you get through that initial period, you will start to see visible progress within 3 months. Your child's going to have a smile on their face when they hear the word maths. They're going to talk about things over the breakfast table that they've picked up, and their confidence will really start to grow. And a few months after that, about 6 months in, you're going to start to notice that acceleration. And so will your child's teacher, that they're going to notice that they're actually moving ahead in the curriculum. And if you keep that going for 12 months, then as I said, all of our data shows that your child's maths aid will increase by about 18 months on average, maybe even more. And more than that even, you will transform their relationship with mathematics. It's the most powerful and beautiful thing you can do for your child's maths education. And it all just comes from consistent using it for an hour a week. So you may be wondering after all that what your next steps are. So let's just recap. Oh, there's a nice picture just to kind of show you the kind of expression that you can expect your child to have when they're doing maths. But let's go to your next steps, just in case you're wondering how to put all this together. Your first priority is to finish that initial assessment if you haven't already. If it's been a while since your child was on Maths-Whizz, you might want to do a reassessment. You can do that through the parent dashboard. And really focus on getting them through that initial assessment. It takes about 45 minutes on average. And again, the most important thing is that they take their time and that the tutor gets an accurate reading. And from there, it's all about the weekly planning. Put those 3 steps into action. Download the planner. We're going to stick it in an email, so look out for that shortly after this webinar, and really then start to make use of that planner. Head over to the resource hub. There's a link over here. We're going to share it again in the email, because we've got loads to share with you in the resource hub. We've got activities, other advice, the recordings of all these webinars, and so many other things. So I'll leave it to you to explore those things. And then finally, I can't emphasize this enough, we are here for you every step of the way. Hannah and her team are really the best in the business. If you have any questions at all, whether it's a question around the product or your child's learning, just get in touch with them, support@whizz.com, and they will be only too glad to help. So let me just say again how much I appreciate you taking the time. I think it's a really special thing that you're doing, committing to your child's education, particularly during this time. And it's a real privilege for us to be on that journey with you. So thank you very much. Now, let me wrap up the presentation, and what we'll do is we'll move over to the chat, and I'll just have a quick look at some of the questions that have come up. So I can see that there are a number of questions that have come up, and Hannah's managing to address many of them. It says how to do the initial assessment again from the parent account. I think I'm actually going to show you rather than tell you. So let's get out of this. So you go to your parent account and you'll see your report dashboard, and the question is, how do you reset the assessment? It's quite straightforward. You go over here and then you click on students. So right hand menu, click on students, and then you click on your child's name and you scroll down and you go to reset assessment. Now, in this case, the child is actually attached to a school account, so I'm not able to do it as a parent. But when you scroll down and you see that, you will have the option because it will be your home account. So look at the right-hand menu, go to students, find them, and then scroll down, and you will be able to reset your assessment. And that's it. And then when your child logs in, there's nothing for them to do. They'll just be directed straight into the assessment. So I hope that helps. There's a question around payment. So I presume that you're new to Maths-Whizz. So I would just say go to whizz.com. In fact, while we're here, why don't we just do it? Let's go to whizz.com, because there's a few different options available to you. And so I think the best thing you can do is just go to whizz.com and so wait for that to load up. On whizz.com, there's a whole parent section. So you'll see parents in the menu. Click on parents, or just hover over that. Go to subscriptions and pricing. You're going to see the different options available to you. So you can try Maths-Whizz for 7 days at no cost. I would recommend doing that, really making the most of it in that week, and then you can make a decision on how to move forward. You can get the monthly subscription, that's $19.99 a month. The most cost-effective, though, is the annual. It's $149.99 a year, and I would really encourage that. It really promotes a long-term mindset. And you know, when you compare it to the cost of a private tutor, it's really not very much. And also when you consider you're going to get those guaranteed learning outcomes. So there are your options, and we do accept different currencies if you happen to be based somewhere else in the world, so you can explore those different options. Right, so there's a question here. You're very welcome, Sonia. There's a question here about a child that's made very good progress. They're 1 year ahead and they're starting to find it tricky. Are there worksheets in the resource that I can find offline with? A great question. So, you know, Maths-Whizz is all about, and I'd say learning maths, you know, generally is all about going at the right pace. And so it's great if your child has made that rapid progress in the first year. But if they're finding it tricky, it's a good idea to maybe consolidate the learning that's already happened. So one of the things you can do for sure is go to Topic Challenge, because with Topic Challenge, they can practice the lessons that they've already done in the tutor. And that will really then kind of reinforce their knowledge and hopefully set them up for the lessons that are to come. And there are loads of offline resources that we have. I've mentioned the Parent Resource Hub. If I just show you here, if you go to free resources and you go to the Resource Hub, you're going to find loads of things there. My cursor's playing up a bit, but let's see. You'll find loads of resources here, and I would absolutely encourage you to make use of them alongside Maths-Whizz. I would still say, you know, keep going with Maths-Whizz an hour a week, but alongside that, you can see all kinds of activities that we have, and we're creating more and more all the time. And so I'm just going to leave it to you to explore those, but it's all there in the Resource Hub, and we're adding new things all the time, so do look out for those. Is Topic Challenge accessible from the child screen? Absolutely. So I showed you a couple of screenshots of the student experience. We've not actually been inside, but it's very easy to find. When your child logs in, you just go to the top menu, and you should very easily be able to find Topic Challenge. That's no problem. Thank you, Alicia. And yes, Hannah has just said as much. Does the child need to be a certain age to begin Maths-Whizz? It's a really nice question. I have a 15-month-old daughter. I'd love to say that she's ready for Maths-Whizz. It's not quite true. They need to be able to speak, of course, and it helps if they can read, although that's not essential. I would say in my experience, by the time they're about 4 years old, if you're conversant with them and they have, you know, a good command of English or any of the other languages that we have on Maths-Whizz, then it's worth giving it a shot. You might need to sit with them if they're really young and, you know, help them get used to the screen and things like that. But it's all animated, it's all based on visuals, so I have found that even 4-year-olds can get on with it. And remember, most importantly, Maths-Whizz will adapt to your child's needs. So, you know, whether they're really ahead in the curriculum or behind or wherever else, the age doesn't actually matter so much. The only requirement really is that they're able to communicate so that they can understand the instructions on the screen. Got a question here suggesting that your child might be finding it too easy. So, you know, we've had a question about finding it too hard. Here's now one about finding it too easy. And again, you know, Maths-Whizz itself will try its very best to adapt to your child's needs. So one of the things to look out for is the jumping button in the exercises, because if they're finding it too easy, what will happen is 3 or 4 questions into the exercise, if your child's getting them all right, the tutor will pick that up and it will say, okay, you don't need to actually do the whole exercise, you're clearly ready to move on. And so they can really accelerate ahead. So the first thing I would mention is jumping. You know, if you feel like your child needs a reassessment because, you know, they're a couple of years, you feel like it's a couple of years behind, then that's worth considering. In fact, one of my friends recently got in touch to say, and they haven't used Maths-Whizz in a while, and they've gone back on, and of course their child's finding it too easy because she's not used it for a while, and in the meantime her learning's moved forward. So in that case, I would say, you know, do a reassessment as we showed you, but really think about jumping as well. And it may be that they're finding some topics easy and other topics difficult. With time, Maths-Whizz will kind of catch up to where your child is at. That's what it's designed to do. Excellent. Yeah, so if your daughter's 5, she's good to go. And I got to say, the look on their face, those 4 or 5-year-olds when they first go on Maths-Whizz, it's something to treasure. So you've got a lot to look forward to there. Yeah, how does a child see yourself on the leaderboard? So we've not really gone deep into this. Perhaps we need to do a separate webinar that really goes into the specifics of the student experience. But basically, the leaderboards you'll find in the top menu, you'll find the different options. You'll find topic challenge, buddies, messages, and that's where the leaderboards are. And you know, your child's avatar and the color of their avatar and their status follows them wherever they go. So that's why I say, you know, when they become a superstar, it's something which everyone in their community will recognize. So sorry, I can't kind of give you a visual right now, but look for that top menu, the burger menu, in the student experience, because that's how you can navigate to topic challenge and various other things. Yeah, great question here about sending the results to your school teacher. As I mentioned in the webinar, definitely encourage it. You know, as a teacher, it's something which I would love to see. The level of insight that you're getting from Maths-Whizz is like nothing else. So your teacher will be grateful for it. And also, you know, as a parent, I think you're entitled to get in touch with your school and say, look, here's, which is, you know, my child's on a tutoring program, here's the insights they've picked up, what do you make of this? In terms of how to do it, I mean, you can just take a screenshot and maybe email it across. You know, if printing was an option, and maybe this isn't an appropriate option now, but you know, if you're actually meeting your teacher face to face, then it's something I would just take along. We are looking at ways to kind of give access to teachers so that they can actually see the reports with your permission. And of course, if your school commits to Maths-Whizz, then they'll be able to access all the reports in the same way that you can. And by the way, that will lower the cost for you quite significantly too. So certainly do get in touch with your school. I think your teacher will actually want to see, your child's teacher will want to see what kinds of insights you have to share. Yeah, we are very active in that part of the world, in UAE. We have lots of great schools, so let's add another one if we can. Yeah, so you know, we got this question about the 7-day free trial, and you know, what do I do after the 7 days if I can't afford the other packages? You know, I would say, compared to the cost of a private tutor, Maths-Whizz is really affordable. Now, I know that there are so many decisions to make as a parent. Here's what I would say: £149 a year. It's not nothing. But in terms of what you're going to get for that, the value of, you know, 18 months learning improvement, the confidence that will give your child. Think about what else you might spend £150 on. I hope there's something that can be done there. The other option always is to get in touch with your school. Let them take much of that burden off, because if we can get the school signed up, then the cost per child goes down dramatically, and the school will take that burden off you. So again, I would just say get in touch with the school. But it really is just incredible value when you think about the 18-month progress and the benefits it's going to have for your child. Yeah, someone asked if we're going to share a PDF presentation. We're going to share the recording with you. Better still, there's actually a web page where we share all the webinars. So do watch out for that, and please share this far and wide. This webinar was really for existing users, so thank you for attending. We do have other webinars. We've run other webinars for those that aren't yet familiar with Whizz, and we've got more in the pipeline. So what I would say is have them, you know, watch the recordings. If they like what they hear, have them sign up to the free trial, have them sign up to our newsletter. They can do all this through the website, and if they stay in touch that way, then they can get all the advice they need. And there you go, Hannah. True to form is offered to send info across directly. Just conscious of time. We have gone over the half hour, but that's because you've got so many good questions. Just wonder if you have any others. But in that case, let me just say again, you know, there's an instinct that's led you to this webinar. Something told you that it's worth attending this webinar. I hope it has been worthwhile for you. But whatever that instinct is, trust it, because this really is a decisive moment for your child's learning. Whether we like it or not as parents, we've got one of two choices to make. I've shown you the difference, I've shown you the data. You're already on the right path by being on Maths-Whizz, by attending this webinar. The one message I want you to take away from today is the importance of consistency. I say this to my friends and family. I have to remind myself at times, this isn't about, you know, a 2-week or 4-week program that's going to give you a short-term boost. It can do that, but this is about transforming your child's learning. And with everything we're going through, I think the most important thing with learning right now is continuity, consistency, and stability. So I believe Maths-Whizz, truly believe Maths-Whizz can be a big part of that. And we look forward to continuing to work with you. So do look out for more webinars, go on the Resource Hub, watch out for the email that we're about to send to you, and I'll say it again, if you've got any questions, support@whizz.com, because they will get back to you right away. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll be in touch.